Ash with my, I don't know, what do you think? Should have thought that through.
We are
Oh.
live.
Hi, everybody. Let me talk a little bit more about my hair not matching my shirt like I wish it would. But instead of that, my name is Julie Samuel Westman. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Kansas City Oasis this morning. For those of you that have joined us here on the Zoom call, as well as streaming on Facebook Live, we're so happy that you have chosen to spend the time with us this morning. We feel like the human experience is better when it's shared, and we're so pleased that you're sharing it with us this morning. We have a really great lineup today. Our musical guest is returning for his, I think, third performance with us here virtually since the pandemic, Sage Cornelius. Our community moment will be Daniel Harris, and our featured speaker, also returning, Dave Warnock. Kansas City Oasis is a secular humanist community that gathers around 5 values. People are more important than beliefs. Meaning comes from making a difference. Reality is known through reason. Human hands solve human problems. And be accepting and be accepted. And with that, I'll go ahead and go into a short introduction, let you know a little bit about Sage for those of you that haven't gotten to experience his music before. Sage Cornelius is a young native musician from Topeka, Kansas, who effortlessly puts a unique, mean spin on violin with ease. He first started playing at 8 years old upon hearing The Devil Went Down to Georgia and hasn't stopped since. He's been busking on the streets, playing in symphonic orchestras, shredding in metal bands, accompanying mariachi bands, playing alongside hip hop artists, as well as touring with national recording soul singer Sean James. His most recent notable achievement is a collaboration with metal meme sensation slash YouTube vlogger Jared Dines, where the two have a heavy metal inspired riff off and can be found on YouTube at Violin versus 8-string guitar. Sage's catalog of music embodies multiple genres, as you might have guessed from what all he's been up to, ranging from cinematic movie themes, EDM anthems, acoustic jams, hip hop tributes, and heavy metal bangers. He hopes that his musical genre will be for everyone that attends his performances. Sage also is a music teacher and has done various workshops with Native youth over the years. On his artist page, his mission states, with the right tools provided, we have overwhelmingly large amounts of potential. And Sage wants to empower and be an inspiration to all that hear and see his performances. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Sage Cornelius.
How's it going, everybody? Good morning. Thank you, Julia. I appreciate the introduction. My name is Sage Hasketh Chi'i Cornelius. My Indian name is Nanomshki, and proudly representing the Oneida, Dene, Potawatomi, and Kickapoo Native American nations. And it's my pleasure to be back for Oasis. I love this community. You guys rule. I love, I don't know, it's just really cool to be a part of something. I'm all the way in New Mexico right now, but I had to get up a little bit early. It's fine. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get this party started. This is an original. The song is called The Party on Space Mountain.
applause that you can hear, and everybody else will give
Thank you.
Stacey a virtual round of applause.
Awesome. Let's see here. Am I gonna do? Is it 2 in the morning? I'm sorry. 2. Okay. Awesome. All right, we're gonna keep on rolling here. So I'm gonna flip the lid. I'm gonna do something way different this time. A lot of times I've shared like cinematic stuff. I like music based like on Hans Zimmer. That's one of my favorite composers. And so I like big story music. That's like my thing. But lately I've been having a lot of success with my metal violin stuff. As you can see on my violin, I have 7 strings on this, and it goes all the way up from the top, all the way to the bottom. And so I'm going to play you one of my originals you can find on YouTube and on iTunes. This is one of my metal violin pieces called Entombed. This is dedicated to Be Quarantined. Here we go.
Before that, you better damn well be. Oh, sorry. This is this is family friendly. You better be awake. I guess that was okay. You better be awake now. Whoa! All right. I feel super energetic. Way more than the Diet Dr Pepper is doing for me this morning. That was fantastic. Woo! Before we move on stage, somebody would like to hear a little bit more about your violin.
Okay.
Okay.
So what I'm playing right There's a 7-string fretted electric violin. This is a violin that is made by Mark Wood, and he owns Wood Violins. So this right here is a handcrafted piece of work. I've always wanted one. I was able to, a year and a half ago, I came into possession of this. And so, yeah, it's basically you have like almost like a bass string on the bottom of this. I tune this in drop A if anyone is wondering about the tuning that I play in on the bottom. But yeah, 7-string violin. If you Google up woodviolins.com, he has all sorts of crazy violins, 7-string, 6-string, 5 strings. And this one's cool because it's shaped kind of like a flying V. So
Yeah.
let's see here.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is just
It's pretty
too badass.
awesome.
I love it every time you come play for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I love playing for you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and you surprise us every time, and that was no exception. That was awesome. Okay, so we get to hear from you a couple more times this morning. Looking forward to it, and so we're gonna go ahead now and turn it over to our community moment speaker, and I will give him a brief introduction. Daniel Harris is a member of our community. Hi, Daniel. It's good to see you this morning. You're muted, so you can go ahead and come off mute whenever you're ready.
Good morning.
Daniel gave us 3 words to describe himself, or three references to describe himself, so you can know him a little bit better. He's an animal lover, a thrill seeker, and an avid reader. So that's some a little bit about him. And if he had a warning label, it would be, I think faster than the Energizer Bunny, but I move like molasses. So do not rush Daniel when he's about to do something. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Daniel.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Daniel, and my pronouns are they, them. You may notice I look around or lose my train of thought while I'm up here. Public speaking isn't necessarily one of my strong suits, and the Energizer Bunny in my head. There we go. Can you see me again? There we go. And the Energizer Bunny in my brain cells is currently chasing shiny objects. So, but today I want to give an update on what my life has been like over the past few months. I recently got out of being homeless, and I'm staying with family while I get my house in order. It's been an interesting few months, and since January 3rd, I have been here in Kansas City. I used the last of my money to hop on a Greyhound bus headed for KC January 2nd, and it's been a little bit of a rough go around, but I'm clean almost 2 months now, and I kind of want to assure you that this isn't a sad story. It's I'm talking about a little bit of a dark chapter, like many people have had over the course of 2020, as I'm sure you're all very well aware. But today I want to share with you the positive steps that I've made. So here it goes. Like I said, I'm over 1 month clean. Currently, I am suffering from amphetamine-induced schizophrenia. So I have a little bit of stuff going on right now. But I've kind of reached a point where I'm a little bit better now, so I can talk with people now. But I kind of reached a point in life where I gave up hope. And because my philosophy in life is go big or go home, I kind of chose meth as the drug of choice. But I came here again to Kansas City to start a life and plant some roots. And one of my big goals is to be someone my parents, my community, and my friends can be proud of. My hope here is to start my own business, combining a lot of the gig work here in Kansas City, such as like rideshare, food delivery, and freelance work. I'm doing all of this in conjunction with a rehab program I'm in. It's over Zoom, kind of like this is. And I'm hoping to start a job at FedEx again this Tuesday. See if I can climb my way back up to where I was before. Turns out manager the manager position I tried at FedEx was not a great fit for my personality. So I'm looking to kind of start over there. And I'm close to getting a car again very soon. And one of the things you all may have noticed, for the people who know me from before, when I was in Kansas City before, the indelible wanderlust I had once dwindled, now has dwindled. Sorry guys, technical issues. And totally lost my train of thought. Anyway, I want to end this community moment with a thank you to every single one of you that has reached out, provided support, and been there in my time of need. Many of the individuals would prefer I not call them out, but you know who you are, and I want you all to know how much it means to me that I turned up in an hour of need and you were there. I will not only, I have a will not only to live, but to thrive again, and it's thanks to you. Thank you for letting me share today, and virtual hugs for everybody. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Daniel. Well, it's we're so happy that you I mean, I'm so pleased that you felt comfortable enough to share that with us, your community, and we're so happy that you're back here in Kansas City, and look forward to you interacting with us again. And again, I guess the message for everybody that one of the reasons Kansas City Oasis exists is not all of us have our families of birth. A lot of us rely on our families of choice, and
Yep.
I'm glad, Daniel, that you, well, not only that you have your family there that you're staying with that can support you, but also your family of choice here in Kansas City. So thank you. I really appreciate your vulnerability in sharing that, and we're here to support you. All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Good to see you. All right. So that was really heartfelt and moving. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, with that, I do have I missed some celebrations, so I'll do that really quick, and then we're going to turn it over to Mark Dixon's got a little something to talk to us about community moments. And so first of all, though, I wanted to remind everybody it was, and I think we missed this last week, but it was Andy Beal's birthday this past Friday, so you might show him a little Facebook love. Annalisa Taylor's birthday's on the 23rd. And Ev Green, who sometimes joins us from France, I know on some Sundays via the live stream, her birthday's on the 25th. So again, maybe reach out virtually to these folks and wish them a happy birthday. If you have any celebrations that you'd like to share, birth of a new grandchild is something that we've had happen recently. Maybe you landed a job that you were excited about, anything, or graduated from a program or got a certification, anything that's going on in your life, we'd be happy to celebrate that with you. So please reach out to a board member or one of the MCs, and we can share that on a Sunday. And so with that,
in the chat.
I'm sorry.
We have
Caitlin. Okay. Caitlin, I must not have you. I don't know that we're friends, but Caitlin, who is new to our community, had her birthday this past week. So let's give a virtual hug to Caitlin this morning. Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark, who's going to walk us through some stuff he's got going on.
Yeah, good morning. And perfect timing right after the community moment to stump for some community moment presenters, but also I want to talk about spring community groups while we're here. So just quickly, we're always needing community moments presenters, an opportunity to talk for 5 minutes, maybe 10 on something you're passionate about, your life journey like Daniel just did, a hobby, demonstrate something you're good at. Really, the sky's pretty much the limit, and we're we've been doing these now for almost Kansas City Oasis will be 7 years old this spring, and we have community moment presenters probably 45 weeks out of the year. It's a chore to continually fill those slots. We generally try not to have the same presenters more than once every 6 months. So, and we have a stable pool of extroverts that will offer anytime we ask. But with the 6-month rule, it's sometimes hard to fill. So if you're interested, and I know I've had a few responses to my Facebook post recently, and we'll circle back around to those folks. But we're looking to fill slots in March, April, May, and on. So just reach out to me via Facebook or any other way to get in touch with me. And I appreciate anybody stepping forward that has something they want to talk about. It'd be lovely. Community groups, near and dear to everybody. So if you're not familiar with community groups, back before we met virtually, we would have hosts bring small groups of Oasis people into their homes and talk about different discussion topics, typically weekly or every other week. We've done this for several years now. We went virtual, obviously, last year and are still virtual, but we're starting up spring community groups starting the week of Sunday, March 14th. We're going to an every other week schedule in terms of curriculum. And by curriculum, I mean, there'll be a short YouTube video and a few discussion points, nothing too heavy or, just something to keep conversation going and learn a little bit about each other. But typically the groups are 8 or 10 people. We're looking for hosts right now, which is what I wanted to talk about today. Out in the private group, I put a link earlier this week for a host sign up. We've had one sign up so far and one indication who hasn't completed the form yet, but we'd like to get 7 or 8, even more hosts, the more the merrier. There was a time when we had a community group going almost every night of the week. That'd be a lovely place to be. So if you're interested in hosting, there's really not a whole lot to do. Back when we were in home, it was typically potluck and you had to clean your house and all that. Now you just have to put a shirt on and show up on Zoom. So I will, in the comments here in the chat, I'll put the sign up link for hosts, but please reach out to me if you're interested. If you've hosted previously and want to host again, fill out the form. We'll send an attendee sign up form out via the private group in about 2 weeks, somewhere around the 1st of March. So looking forward to seeing what folks are able and willing to do. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mark, for for those of you that are maybe new in joining the community, it's really a great experience. And I found when I first came to Oasis that it really helped me feel a lot more connected to the people around me, and especially right now, we all can use some more human connection. Again, those are all conducted via Zoom at this time, and so that was very informational. So if you want to sign up, there's a link in the Zoom meeting chat, but also if you go to our Facebook private page, the link is there too as well if you're watching on the live stream. So with that, we're going to go ahead and maybe just a little sneak preview of how community groups are. We're going to go into some breakout rooms so you can talk amongst yourselves, maybe introduce yourself to someone new that you haven't met, and we'll be back here in about 10 minutes. So we'll see you. And it looks like everybody's starting to sort of filter back in. Hopefully, you had a nice conversation like we did in the breakout room I was in. We drew Sage in our room, so we got to fan person over him for for a while in our breakout room. Okay, and with that, Sage, I was just going to ask you. Let's see if we can. Let's get you spotlighted next to me here. Yeah, let's talk us through a little bit about. I said some in the introduction, but talk us through some of your most current projects and what you're up to right now.
Okay. Currently, I'm working on raising money for a music video that I'm going to be putting out. I have a song called "The Nature of Decay," and basically the premise of the song is to talk about climate change and talk about how man's religious and political dogma will basically be the end of us all.
Oh wow, okay.
How we need to kind of recognize this and face it and change ultimately, so that our grandkids can have a beautiful world to live in.
Yeah.
So it'll be, most of the stuff I've done is instrumental in the past. This will be the first song with like lyrics where I'll be,
Oh, okay.
and everything. So, and it feels good too, because it's like it's my first song with like a really clear message. So I've been selling merchandise. So far, I've sold about 60 shirts, which has been really, really awesome. And unfortunately, I only have extra small, smalls, 2X and 3X. So left, but I've been really grateful for everyone's support. And I know you said that you had posted my shirts in the KC Oasis group, and I appreciate that support. So
Yeah.
fun.
Okay, great. So everybody, be on the lookout for that if you haven't been on the private page in a minute, and look for that link for.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and take it away.
Okay, awesome. We're gonna keep on rocking here. I had some people tell me that they really enjoyed this composition I did. This is my rendition of "I Got Five on It," and you can find this on my YouTube. Type in Sage Cornelius, "I Got Five on It," and alrighty. Without further ado, here we go. Yeah. Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Good deal.
Oh, somebody in the chat wants you to become our house musician. So there you go. But I don't think you want to get up at 9:30 every Sunday morning, do you?
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. I'd be happy to.
Okay. Well, we're super grateful that we get to hear from you once more at the conclusion of our program. So we'll be looking forward to that. Thank you, Sage.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks again for having me.
Okay. Yeah. So, I think if so we have a question in our chat right now about Sage's contact and
I'll post everything. I'll post
yeah,
everything.
if you wouldn't mind posting that all again, Sage, that would be fantastic. And then we also will link that back on our private page again after
Okay, cool. Good deal. Thank you very much.
Okay, and with that, it is my pleasure to start introducing our featured speaker. He's what I like to call a returning champion. This is our second visit with Dave. Hello there. By way of introduction, I'll tell you about Dave. He was a conservative evangelical pastor and church leader for almost 40 years. After examining and investigating the faith claims of evangelical Christianity, he concluded he could no longer embrace the faith he had given his life to. His exit from Christianity was basically due to the tenets of his lifelong faith no longer aligning with his core beliefs of tolerance and acceptance of all people, and his belief that life is to be lived for the moments that are contained within this one life we know we have, rather than viewing this life as a temporary life until we enter eternity. On February 26, 2019, Dave received the devastating diagnosis of ALS, sometimes commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And suddenly for Dave, this precious and brief life became infinitely more precious and incredibly brief. Instead of succumbing to depression, anger, and hopelessness that this debilitating, fatal diagnosis often brings, he immediately decided to begin dying out loud, living life to the fullest, and making plans to travel as much of the world as his body will allow and experience the joy of meeting new people and cherishing the beautiful moments that life offers all of us. So this life change soon morphed into what is known as the Dying Out Loud Tour. I think we were a fairly early stop the first time around, weren't we, Dave? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. And I had the pleasure, I think, introducing you that day and meeting you in person. So we are so pleased to have you return with an update here to Kansas City Oasis. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, Julie. Hey, everyone. Good to be back, as it were. Let me start here with a moment of silence for your beloved Kansas City Chiefs. And in fact, you guys may need to be checking in with Daryl. He's not doing too well.
He's not okay, yeah.
He mentioned depression. I told him I know where you can find some good secular therapists. And so now that was a shocking development. Yeah, the travel that you mentioned in the intro, travel as much of the world as I can, that was going pretty strong. When I saw you guys, was it in July, I think, Julie, or I don't know, summertime?
Yeah, it was summer, I do believe.
And we had just the calendar full of dates like that, of speaking engagements and things. We had stuff scheduled for all around the country, Vancouver, up over in Europe, just all kinds of stuff on the calendar, and all of that got scrapped. We had a full 2019. When I saw you guys, we traveled a lot that year and did a lot of speaking and went a lot of places, met a lot of great people. But then we're going into 2020 and doing that, and my thing was that I would get it. When I got this diagnosis 2 years ago, I didn't know how long I had. I didn't know how it would go. I didn't know how fast I would progress. They call it progressing. It sounds counterintuitive when you say progressing. But what that means is the disease is progressing and it's taking over your body, and you're losing your faculties and your functionality. And so my desire was to do as much of what we called dying out loud as possible as quickly as possible. So I was literally going somewhere every week. I mean, I was in a different airport. I literally didn't know where I was. I'd wake up, Bevan and I'd look it over and I'd say, where are we now? And what city are we in? And it was like this, but I was in a real hurry to do as much of this as I can and talk about the things that are important to me. And I still am in a hurry to do that. And I'm doing as much of it this way as I can, but the traveling certainly got curtailed rather quickly. And so to give you a note, when Nikki emailed me and wanted an update on what I'm doing and what my life's about now, I'm doing this as much as I can, but the first few months after COVID shut everything down, mostly what I did was pout. I just, it really was a kick in the gut for me personally. I know it's affected all of us in various ways negatively, but for me, it felt like the short window that I had with this terminal diagnosis got even shorter. And I thought, my God, maybe the one good year I have to travel I might end up having to quarantine away from, can't even go out to a restaurant, can't go get a cup of coffee. And those are small things in the big scope of things, but for me, it just felt like what little I had left was being taken away from me, and I was really not happy about that at all. I didn't handle it real well at first, and I've gradually gotten better, I think, and I've accepted it, and have done the things I can do as much as I can do. What I have turned my focus onto in a real big way is writing my book, my memoir, and I've done, for a while I kind of piddled at it and was not very focused on it because I was doing all these other things and traveling so much. But being shut in and not going anywhere and do anything, I've had nothing but time and no excuses whatsoever. So I've really made good progress on that. I've even starting to reach out to some possible publishers and hope to have it completed very realistically, I think by early summer, to have this ready to go so you guys can all get a copy. And I'm going to give you a test, you ex-Christians. The title of the book is going to be But When I Became a Man. And when we do Q&A, the first one that can tell me what that reference is wins a big prize of some sort.
Maybe an autographed copy.
Maybe an autographed copy of the book. That's it. Although, to be fair, my symptoms are in my hands and arms, and that signature won't be very legible. My signature was pretty bad before this, but now it's nothing but a scribble. That said, just to give you an update on the ALS itself, when I saw you, I looked pretty normal. You'd have to look pretty closely to see there was anything wrong. I mean, normal is a subjective term. I don't know that I've ever looked normal, or I've ever been normal. But what we've learned in the last year, by the way, we got connected with a neurologist at Duke University in North Carolina here, where I am now. I was in Nashville before, but I'm here with Bevan in Charlotte. And this neurologist that we have now at Duke is one of the leading neurologists in the country, probably the world, for ALS. And he saw me the first time he saw me, and he looked at my chart and looked at my progression and my presentation, as they call it. He said, I think what you've got is what they call a flailed arm syndrome. And it's just like it sounds. Another phrase they use is man in a barrel. So if you can picture a man lowered into a barrel with his arms at his sides, that's what I'm beginning to look like more and more. My symptoms are fairly well contained within my arms and my hands, and it's not progressed to other parts of my body, like my mouth, which I can still talk, and I can still walk just fine. And so what we found is that I have what's known as a very rare, first of all, ALS is rare to begin with, but my version of it is even more rare. And maybe 5% of ALS people have what I have. And the reality is that if you got to have ALS, what I've got is probably the best kind to have, because the thing about ALS that ends up killing you is when it gets into your mouth and lungs area and your diaphragm doesn't work anymore and you can't eat, can't breathe, and you die. So the longer it can stay away from there, the longer I'll be alive. So as someone on a YouTube show the other day commented, I did a YouTube show and one of the comments was, wait, Dave's still around? He's been dying out loud for like 10 years. When's he going to die already? Kind of that kind of thing. So I want to say to folks, yeah, no, I do have ALS and it is a deadly fatal disease, but I'm not dying as rapidly as I thought I was going to, or I thought I might. So all that to say, I've relaxed a little bit and I've realized I'm going to be around longer. It's going to give me more time to do things. When things do open up again and I can travel and speak, then I'll be doing more of that again and we'll get the meetings rescheduled. But until then, I've got a book to write. I can do a lot of Zoom, a lot of virtual meetings, which the reality is you can meet or you can reach more people this way than you can in person, in terms of actually connecting with them all around the world. Literally, I've made connections with people all over the world in the last couple of years, and I wouldn't have been able to do that, traveling to speak. I do like the human connection of the personal touch. I'm always going to be that guy that wants to hug a neck and see and look someone in the eye and have a conversation, and I never will be satisfied completely with just this, because I need to be with a person. And so, but until then, I can do as much of this as I can, and I'm doing a lot of it, and I'm thankful for it. And what a byproduct of getting these connections around the world is that we've got people literally all over the world, in France, in Amsterdam, in the Cayman Islands, in Greece, that have said to us, when you come this way, stay with us. We've got a place, we've got a spare room, we've got a house, we want to see you, we want to buy you a drink, we want to buy you dinner. So Bevan and I are planning to take advantage of that. And we've started making some travel plans for later in the year, in different parts of the world that we want to see, and meet these people that we've connected with virtually and see some beautiful places in the world. So we're trusting that by late summer, early fall, that travel will be allowed in some of these places. And so we're going to be reaching out and doing that. Also, I've been able to get the vaccine because I'm old as fuck. And I was able to get the first dose a couple of weeks ago, and I get the second dose next week. Bevan's got hers already because she was in one of the trials. So we're going to feel fairly comfortable moving out and about a little more. Still wear your masks, people, and social distance. So we're going to be more comfortable doing that a lot more in the next few months. And we're going to be doing some traveling and getting out and about and seeing some people. So that's going to help a lot in terms of how I feel about things and how I'm doing. In the meantime, I'm working on speaking things. I've got a thing coming up with Recovering from Religion where I'm going to talk about sin and how it's not a thing. And I'm continuing to speak out against evangelical Christianity with every bit of strength that I have, because I see over and over again the damage that it does. I hear from people all the time who have been traumatized and affected by it negatively, and I want to continue to use my voice and to do my part to raise awareness that it's not okay. It's a dangerous. I think we've seen in the last few. Oh, by the way, can we give a shout out? Since I've seen you last, you may not be aware of this, but we have a new president, and I want to say hallelujah and praise God for that. But I think we've seen the dangers that Christianity, and I'm not laying the blame solely at the feet of evangelical Christianity, but we do know that 80% of evangelicals support a guy like Donald Trump, and a vast majority of the people that stormed the Capitol would identify as Christians. And that's very much a view into what white nationalism and Christian nationalism can do to a country if it's left unchecked. And so we have to, in my opinion, use the voice we have to raise the awareness and to sound the alarm that this shit is not passive. This stuff is not okay. It has real life consequences in the world we live in. And if we're not speaking up and pushing back against it, then who's going to? So that's a thing that I'm trying to do as much of as I can. To that end, I'm looking at my notes that I want to also be careful not to ramble too much, because I love to give time for Q&A, because I know that more people, you know, I like to respond to the questions rather than just talking about what I want to say. But my assistant / lovely partner, Bevan Jett, who I'm going to introduce you to in a minute, gave me my talking points. Don't forget these, Dave. First off, we mentioned the anniversary of my diagnosis is coming up Friday night. That's the 26th. So Bevan, y'all say hello to my lovely partner, Bevan Jett, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about that you're all invited to.
Okay. Hi, I'm Bevan. Okay, we're getting back feed.
I'll turn it down.
You may need to turn your thing off. Yeah. Yeah, Dave, he was diagnosed 2 years ago, this coming up Friday, February 26th. And typically especially in the ALS community or ALS patients, that's always kind of a dreaded day, because it's just sort of like a reminder of pretty much when you receive the worst news of your life. And so I was talking with Dave, and I said, you know, my feeling is to try to always find something positive in a negative. And, you know, like Dave's losing a lot of function in his hands, but he can still walk, you know, and he can get places. And so I try to, you know, remind him of that. You know, my feelings can always be worse. So, and I said, you know what? I said, this marks 2 years that you beat this thing, you know, and we need to celebrate that and throw a party. But how do you throw a party in the middle of a pandemic? And so I said, well, let's do a Zoom party. But, you know, we've got lots of Zoom meetings going on. And I was like, I think we could still throw a party on Zoom and create a lot of different events and games and guest speakers and the whole works. So that's what we're doing. And everyone's welcome to attend. It's really open to the general public. We want people to come and you know, it's a party. It's in the evening. It's this Friday night. It's I guess y'all's time it would be from 8 to 11. We try to put it at a time where it could work with West Coast people and East Coast people. If you want to see more details, just go to Dave's Facebook page, Dying Out Loud, and the event's right there, and you can sign up. But I'm going to be adding more things during the week, because we've got more and more people signing on and wanting to do some entertainment and things like that. And in fact, Sage, your music was incredible. But anyway, so
Yeah,
we'd love to have you there.
And I want to say it's sponsored by Recovering from Religion. Dr. Darrell had graciously allowed us to work with them on that, and so there I look for every chance I can to promote RFR, because I know the great work that they do in helping people get free from the tentacles of religion and move on from it and deal with the trauma and so on. So Darrell will be joining us for some of the party. I know he goes to bed. He's an old guy, so he goes to bed early. So I don't know how long he can hang out with us, but Darrell, did you want to say anything about that, brother?
Yeah, with friends like you, who needs enemies? Yeah, that's what I'd say. No, thanks for saying about RFI. We're very happy to sponsor what you're doing, because we think death and dying is something that causes people to stay religious, and we need to get over that shit.
Yeah, it does. I talk to a lot of people. I hear from people. Two of the things I hear the most from people, the questions I get, are dealing with death and dealing with hell, the fear of hell and the fear of death. And religion does indeed put those issues front and center in your mind to where it can paralyze, it can immobilize people. I've heard from people that have been in some pretty serious mental anguish around the subject of death and hell. And I've been able, in some ways, in some instances, to help them unpack that and open up that subject. And it removes, when you shine the light on something, it removes the mystery and the fear from it in large part. And you start breaking it down. What is death really about? What is it going to look like? And you start talking about it. What makes people afraid so much is that nobody ever talks about it. It's this taboo subject that we're all going to experience, by the way. Let's just throw it out there. Nobody gets out of this alive. And so when you just confront it head on, it allows people to take the fear away from it. And so what Daryl said is true. Much of the fear associated with death has to do with thoughts and ideas that were put in them oftentimes from a very young age surrounding religion and indoctrination. And we've got to expose that and deal with it and help people get free from stuff. So with that, I'm going to shut up. Oh, I've got to mention too, I'm now a TikToker. I thought I would never do that. I thought it was silly, kids doing silly stuff and women dancing. And Bevan was after me, Dave, no, you got to get on there. You got to get on there. Your message, you can reach more people. And I did, and she was right. And so find me on TikTok, Dying Out Loud. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I have incredibly been able to reach people I wasn't reaching before, and gotten some feedback and questions that I think have been good, and connecting with more people. So it's been a good vehicle, a good platform. So I want to throw that out there too. But anyway, Q&A, whatever time we have. Julie, you know when to shut it off, but any questions that anyone has, here I am.
Sure. I'm going to roll through a few things that we've seen here in the chat. First of all, if you and Daryl want to talk about, Daryl posted that y'all wrote an article on former clergy recovering. Do you guys want to chat about that a minute?
Well, it was Daryl's. It was something he was working on, and when we were at the beach last year at Christmas, he asked me to collaborate with him on it. He was approaching it from a psychological viewpoint, and my perspective was from a former clergy viewpoint. And what we're exploring was the psychological ramifications of what causes a person to want to be a clergy. What the hell's wrong with them that makes them want to do that? Speak to that.
We were saying there is no God out there. So people say God called me to be a minister.
Right.
So once we erase the God idea, what really called them to be a minister?
Yeah.
What are the psychological underpinnings of that? And of course, narcissism might be a part of it, among other things.
I was going to say that.
Big part.
Yeah. So I am a former wife of a former elder in the Jehovah's Witnesses religion. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So and the daughter of one also. I think and you guys, I'd like to hear your comment. I have a lot of feelings about that. Do you think there's sort of that big fish in a small pond? I mean, is that way into it? Like the ego that comes with having the control over the lives of these people that
listen. Absolutely. I think that's a big element. I think we tried to explore that in the book. I mean, in the article. It should be a book. But that the ego, the narcissism. I mean, how narcissistic do you have to be to think that people want to hear you talk an hour a week, to opine about whatever. I think there's a huge amount of ego involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad Dave and I were able to hook up on the article. I put the link up there. I could not have written it. I basically wrote the article, and then I turned around to Dave. What do you think, Dave? And Dave basically made me rewrite the whole thing.
Oh, I did not.
we spent the whole week working on the article, so by the time we were finished, it was probably 50% different than what it was when we started. But
Well,
that
I
was
guess,
good.
there's that added person. I mean, your focus is psychology, Dr. Darrell,
Yeah,
but
right.
yeah, having that input of somebody that lived that life. I mean,
Yeah.
from I
Well,
don't know.
I've been around a lot of clergy in my life throughout my, it's interesting because as I've been working on the book, I've been reliving all of that history and writing about it. And I will say that there's a lot of difference out there in ministers. There are the charlatans, the people who are just milking the flock and they don't really care and they're just really on an ego trip and a power trip. But there's some genuine, heartfelt men and women who never make a lot of money at it. They serve and give and pour their guts out into it and care about people, and they really mean well. But I think there's something in them that's driving that they've attributed to a call of God or the voice of God or whatever. But we know it's not that. So to uncover what that is and to help that person deal with that, I think there's a lot of work involved in that. There's a lot of stuff to unload there.
Yeah, and okay, so I'm gonna switch gears just a little bit. I think Bevan answered this in the chat, but just so everybody else gets to that's joining us live gets to see it. David is asking, is evangelical Christianity a common coping mechanism in the ALS community?
Yeah. One of the more frustrating things Bevan and I have encountered with ALS, we're in these different communities, and groups online and whatever, and the religious bullshit that is spouted out of the mouths of people who their God has allowed to contract this fatal disease is mind-boggling. We've connected with quite a few, and they'll connect with us, and then they'll disappear, and we say, "Okay, I know what happened." They Googled me. They saw
the red
one of
A.
outspoken atheists. And they said, "Oh, run from that shit." So it's been baffling to us that, I mean, they'll post things like, "Praise God, I was able to lift the cup to my lips today. Thank you, Jesus." And I'm thinking, are you serious? Is that the best your God can do for you? Seriously? He can help you drink from a cup, but he can't take the disease away or keep you from getting it in the first place? So it's been frustrating to connect with them and see how, I don't know if they were always religious or maybe they were, and they doubled down on it. Like, I got to hedge my bets here in case God can heal me. I sure want to keep on good terms with him. I mean,
Yeah.
Bevan had a cousin that got diagnosed a year after I did, and his mom had this Facebook page, Jesus heals so and so, and it's just all about that. And he's way worse than me now, so Jesus isn't doing a very good job.
Jesus should have maybe gone to medical school. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I have another question here. First off, Jocelyn would like to know, is pain an active part of ALS?
Yeah, that's kind of but we were just talking about that last night. A lot of people don't think it is. And originally I said, no, I don't deal with pain, but that's as it's progressed, I do. There are pains in my joints, in my shoulders, where I should have muscles that I don't have anymore. And so it's like tendon rubbing against bone kind of stuff. So at night, especially if I'm laying on one or the other shoulder, I feel some pain. A lot of muscle cramps happen sporadically and unpredictably. They're short. They don't last long. It's not like I go around all day in pain. So in one sense, I'm not in chronic pain. I'm not just in pain all the time. There are just short, sporadic bursts of pain that come with it. So I wouldn't call it a big problem. So that's why I've kind of minimized it as an issue.
And then now with your change in abilities, Jocelyn would like to also know, how do you deal with ableism?
Explain ableism. What does that mean particularly?
I would say, and maybe Jocelyn, do you want to chime in on that? But like the othering by so-called able-bodied people.
Oh, people helping me when I don't want help or stuff like that. Okay, I thought that's what it meant, but I wanted to be sure. Yeah, Bevan's laugh. I see Bevan smiling. She never knows what to do.
Yeah.
She'll
So
say,
that assumption that they need to come to your
yeah, it's a
Well,
mixed bag because the tough thing is a situation. For me, I want to do as much as I can. So on a daily basis, for instance. But that said, it can be exhausting just getting dressed, getting a meal prepared, um, simple tasks that you know should be commonplace and easy can be difficult for me. So when someone's there to help, if Bevan's not busy, I say, can you help me with this? And then she said, sure. But other times I'm struggling with it, and she'll hear me, grunting or groaning or whatever, and she said, why don't you let me help you? And so it's a mixed bag, and it's just I don't ever begrudge someone wanting to help me, like, how dare you? I got this. But we also don't want to lose our independence. And so the more that we can do on a daily basis, we want to do, because as it gets worse, there'll be less that we can do.
Jocelyn, Jocelyn, if you want to come off mute, if I didn't represent your question correctly, please come off
Oh,
mute.
no, that's okay. What I meant by ableism is that's one aspect of ableism, but I also wondered, I don't know how to lower my raised hand on here. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
So now I'm just saying hi to everyone, I think. Also with ableism is sort of when able-bodied people expect you to be able to do everything that they can do. I have multiple sclerosis and fibromyalgia, and oftentimes I struggle a lot with people looking at me and going, well, you don't look sick. So
Right.
why aren't you able to do X, Y, Z? And getting a lot of judgment for it. And I just wondered if you've encountered that and how you deal with it, because you seem like a really positive person. So I feel like I can learn quite a lot from you.
What I try to do is deal with stuff just head on. I'm just kind of wired that way. I haven't had a lot of direct encounters with that. There may be people giving me the side eye that I don't realize are, like when I use the handicap spot, which I do, because if I have to carry anything, it's hard to do. But if I park in a handicap zone and I get out and hop in to a cafe like there's nothing wrong with me, there may be people going, what's wrong with him? But I do have the placard up there front and center. But on occasion, if someone says something, like we were at a party once a year ago, and a bunch of guys were setting up a tent, and I wasn't helping. And I was just, because I really can't physically offer anything to this, what's going on here. So I didn't try to act like I could. I just sat beside and watched. And one of the guys says, well, thanks for the help, like snide. And I didn't let it bother me. But a few minutes later, I went and said, hey, the reason I wasn't helping is I would love to help. The reason I wasn't is I have ALS and I'm dying, you piece of shit. No, I didn't add that. I said, just by way of explanation. And I wasn't wanting to make him feel bad, but also I wasn't willing to let him control the narrative of what I was or wasn't doing. So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to say what is true. And he can do with that what he wants. And it turns out he said, oh man, I get it. I'm sorry. I had a friend actually who died from that. So I totally understand. Later on, we're having shots together, So it disheartened him a little bit. But my attitude was, I'm just going to be honest with people and truthful, and they are then going to have to do with that what they want. It's not my responsibility to make them feel okay about it. That's how I look at it.
Okay, so now we're going to tie this into sort of your positive attitude that Jocelyn mentioned. David asks, what are you doing to keep your emotional health on the positive side besides giving talks and sharing your journey with people?
I think having a focus is helping me a lot right now. I literally, spend time every day writing my book, and that has helped me direct focus towards something, especially during the winter months when the weather's bad. It's raining, it's cold, I can't get outside. I think probably has helped me as much as anything. Bevan might add more here because she might say his mental health is not great. But overall I think it is. And I think for anyone like me, we need to have something to focus on, something to direct our attention to. If I get up every day and look at what I'm losing and I don't have anything that's capturing my enthusiasm and my attention, then it can get pretty dark pretty fast. And so having something to point toward every single day and get on and focus on and get to work on has been extremely helpful for me mentally. So that's I think, and that may sound like a cliche, but I think it's really true to have that to give myself to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to let you answer it because I'm not you. You use the words "thank God" when talking about the new president. Is God still part of your belief system?
No, that was pure sarcasm. No, I'm sorry. I that may offend some people. I've got to be careful about that. So no, I don't believe in any God of any kind or any deity. So when I say that, it's just me being a sarcastic asshole. Sorry.
Okay. I mean, what was the Reader's Digest? Laughter is the best medicine, right?
Yeah. No, I forget sometimes that at a lot of these groups, people are at different places in the spectrum of faith and religion and spirituality, and so I never want to make fun of anyone or diminish anything. I do speak out strongly against evangelical Christianity, the kind that wants to control people's lives, but I do realize there are a lot of other types out there that are more benign and harmless and progressive in a sense. So I have respect for that.
Okay, great. Okay, so Jocelyn had one more follow-up, and again, we might need her to define this. She asks, how do you deal with toxic positivity? So I guess maybe Mary Sunshine's like me. I might have a toxic.
Well, it can be irritating. There's a guy in one of our ALS groups that Bevan's laughing about because she knows he drives me fucking bonkers. It's just, how's everybody doing? Is it a great day where you are? It's a great day where I am. And I kind of want to go, but I think some people are genuinely, that's what makes their motor run and they need that for themselves. And I don't want to take that away from them. I'm not going to let them impose it on me. I'm not going to let anyone control the narrative of my life. I've learned that a few years ago. I let Jesus take that from me for most of my life and other people in religion, and I'll never give that up again. I'm going to write my story, and that includes any and every day, any and every situation I'm in. So if someone's super positive and that's what makes their motor run, then more power to you. I'm a pretty positive guy overall, but I don't have that over the top, like I'm leading an online exercise group, that just can be so annoying. But it may affect people different ways. I just kind of roll my eyes and move on and exit out of the meeting maybe a little quicker than I would have before.
And not get stuck as the last person in the meeting with that person, maybe. Yeah. Don't be the last to don't be the last to leave.
Right.
So a question was sent, I think, to Nikki. What do you recommend or what do you suggest for advising people that want to die with dignity?
I'm a big proponent of that. I'm sponsored by an organization called the Final Exit Network. If you've got a place to put my links to stuff somewhere, make sure you add that because I actually have a link to their website on my website.
Okay.
We work together and I talk about their stuff a lot, but I'm a big proponent of that because what it does is give someone like me control. It gives me options to where I'm not forced to fade away and dwindle down to nothing, to where I have to have every single thing done for me. It's an organization, it's a nonprofit that they help people in my situation put things in place so that when the time comes when I'm no longer satisfied with the quality of my life, that I can take steps to end it on my terms in my timing. And it's not restricted to states where they have death with dignity laws. It's a lot different in that sense. And so if you want to know more about that, you can contact me directly or click on their website. Final Exit Network is a link to it on daveoutloud.com.
Okay.
And I'm happy to talk more about that specifically if anyone wants to.
Okay. Yeah, we put that in the chat, the links there, so that's great. And just to clarify, and again, I think you've probably told us, you left, just to clarify, someone asked, you left religion when you were diagnosed or before?
Way before.
Way before.
My exit from Christianity occurred around 2010, 2011, along in there. And then I lived the next 6 or 7 years as an atheist, just living my life, ex-pastor, ex-Christian atheist. Had a lot of people around in my life in Nashville that were in similar situations, and we experienced similar things. It wasn't until my diagnosis 2 years ago that I got involved doing things like this. So yeah, it's the and to answer a subsequent question I've got many times is, did I consider going back to God when I got my diagnosis? No, not for a second, not for a second, not for a nanosecond. I was very convinced that the Jesus and the religion I'd lived my whole life in was not true, and you can't go back to something you know is not true. You just can't. It's like trying to believe in Santa Claus again.
And so this is just my question and sort of something I've seen. Do you feel like, I sort of feel like the more sort of evangelical or fundamentalist that you have been, if you lose your religion or lose your faith, the more likely you are to become an atheist, as opposed to the people in the more benign forms of religion. Do you have maybe some kind of anecdotal evidence that?
Well, actually, Dr. Marlene Monell has done some work on that. Y'all may know her. She coined the phrase religious trauma syndrome and has done a lot of work in this area. I know Daryl knows who she is. But she's talked about that a little bit. And you should check that out if you have questions about it, because I won't have the quote in front of me, but I was actually looking at some of her material recently as I was working on my book. And that exactly what you were talking about was the part I was referencing. The deeper you think of it in terms of a rubber band or a pendulum, the higher that is, or the further stretched out that is, when you let it go, the more the opposite direction it's going to go. So the more extreme you were on the right, for instance, when you make that shift, the more extreme you're likely to go. That's why you see a lot of people who leave religion go through an angry atheist phase, where they're just pissed off, and that's that swinging back. That eventually you come back and forth to more of a center, or you should, I think, or hopefully you will. And I think that's a healthier place to be. But a lot of times there is that extreme reaction because you were more extreme in your faith.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, I feel like, let's see if we've run out of time. Oh, here's just a really quick one, and I think I also know the answer to this one. Did it briefly cross your mind that you're being punished by God for leaving, even for a second?
No. Again, it goes with the whole thing of I just had there wasn't an inkling in my head by then.
Right.
That God was real in any way. So, the notion of him judging me for something, that never crossed my mind, and never crossed my mind to give him another nod, to check back in and say, hey, God, that whole atheism thing, I was just kidding. Can we make up?
Rewind.
That never crossed my mind, not for a second.
Well, it's been so great for us to get to catch up with you.
Yeah, you guys.
I feel like you know that you always have a home here in Kansas City. Oh,
I
Daryl's
love
house. You can go stay at there. Oh, no, wait a minute. I wasn't volunteering him. Yeah, it kind of was. But you're always welcome here.
We'll stay at Daryl's. We always have bacon.
Daryl
We'll
came
have
off for
bacon.
that. Like, Julie, what are you signing me up for? Thoughts, Daryl?
Yeah, hopefully when you guys, I know that you guys are looking at getting a building. That sounds exciting, or permanent space, so to speak. But yeah, when things open back up and we can meet again in person, we would love to come out to Kansas City and see you guys, and that would be fun. So count on it.
Okay, great. Okay, so with that, I think we're gonna wrap up for today, and we'll turn it back over. Oh, I have my little obligatory spiel I'm gonna give about a little bit about Kansas City Oasis being a 501c3 nonprofit. We're entirely volunteer staffed and donation funded. So if you enjoyed the program that we all experienced together this morning, we try to offer a wide range of informational, educational, and motivational speakers every Sunday. You might consider making a donation to help support that. The easiest way to do that is go to kcoasis.org and click on the donate button, and it will walk you through some steps for online giving, and even if you want to set up a small recurring monthly donation, we'd be grateful for that, and it would support our programming. So with that, we will turn it back over to Sage for our final musical performance. Can't wait to see what genre it is this time.
Thank you, Dave, for everything that you said. Yeah, it's really inspiring. Especially, I don't know, I don't want to say anything wrong or anything out of term, but I try to listen to people, especially those that are facing their own mortality, because that is something that we're all going to face at some point in our lives. And I appreciate you for having as much courage as you do, and to keep walking forward, in a good way, whether that is, I don't know. I was really listening to you because, like I said, that's something that we're all going to have to deal with at some point or another. So I wish you the best of luck. I wish you good health and happiness. I hope that you can travel outside of the country and see all these places that you want to see. I wish you all the best of luck with your book as well. So
Thank you, Sage.
yeah,
You bet.
sure. You're a good one. Awesome. So we're gonna get at it. We're gonna end this here. I cut my teeth. I learned how to play in front of people when I was a youngster. I would busk, and what busking is playing on the street for tips. And I started doing that when I was probably about 11 years old at like local farmers markets. And after an hour of playing, I would have $100. And I was an 11-year-old with $100. Like, oh my God, this is a lot of money. And I started figuring out, like, okay, if I start putting myself out here consistently, I'm gonna start getting better at kind of bearing my soul for the public, who have no obligation to watch me. And so that's how I kind of started to cut my teeth. I spent a lot of time playing on the street in Lawrence, Kansas. And one time I had this guy that came up and he asked me, hey, do you take song requests? And I said, yeah. And he said, can you play this song, which I'm about to play here, which is kind of like an old hip hop favorite. And this is some Notorious Thugs by Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls. And it was just cool because within doing that, I got to interact with the community. I got to meet people, and I hope that I can get back to doing that. I would be doing playing live out on the streets here in Central and Albuquerque, and I would play from like 11:30 till about 2:30. And my mom would be like, "What are you doing out there? You're gonna get stabbed. You're gonna get shot. You're out of your mind." But I was like, Mom, that's the best time, because usually people are kind of tuned up and they're more willing to rock out with me after a couple drinks, And so, but anywho, this song goes out to that. I hope to get back into those hot summer nights where I can just jam out for the public hours on end, because that's my favorite thing to do, regardless if there is a crowd there or not. So thank you guys once again for having me. Once again, my name is Sage Cornelius, Sage Hasketh Cornelius. My middle name is Navajo, and it means he who is returning back from battle with blood on his clothes. There's like certain smaller ways I can say that, like red moccasin, but if you dissect all the little syllables, that's what it means in my language. So anywho, without further ado, here we go. Thanks again, everybody.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Much.
Thank you so much, Sage. You're just such a unique talent, and your passion is so evident, and it's so awesome. Yeah, what a great end to the weekend. So thank you so much, and we look forward to you joining us again soon. So
Awesome.
all right. With that, I'd like to thank all of our presenters, Sage, Daniel Harris, Dave, you and Bevan for joining us. We really appreciate it. It has been my pleasure to be your host this morning, and to be a part of this community that means so much to me. And I would like to encourage everyone to, reach out, stay in touch with your community. Maybe just ask one person how they're doing sometime later this week. And with that, my name is Julie Samuel Wisman. This is Kansas City Oasis, and we look forward to you joining us next time.